Hello all, I'm Nandini, a product expert in Zoho Books, and I'm delighted to see you all joining this webinar. So, in this webinar, we'll be seeing about accountant, banking, currency, and budgets reports. So, let's get started. So, we will first start with accountant reports. So in accountant, so when we create any transactions, we used to store that account, the transactions in a particular account. Or to know about the transactions associated with that account, we can make use of accountant report. So this accountant report consists of 8 reports which gives us an overview of all the account and their transaction, but we use them for different purposes. So we will see all the account starting with account transaction. So with account transaction report, we will be able to get the transaction along with their accounts. Let's say if we create any invoice, bills, vendor payment, vendor credits, etc., those transaction along with their accounts. That is, if I created any bill, then the accounts associated with the bill such as accounts payable and their transaction number along with their debit and credit value can be viewed in this report. So not only would be able to view all the accounts and their transactions, you would be also able to customize this report for particular account. So let's see how we can customize this. So before customizing the account transaction report for a particular account, we'll see the customizations available in account transaction. So you'd be able to choose the date range in which you want to generate this report. So we do have a default date filters. Apart from this, you can also create a custom filter. Say if you want to generate the report for August and September month, we can choose August and September as the date range and you can click on apply. So the custom date range will be applied. In addition to this, you would be also able to choose report basis such as accrual or cash. So if you want the report to be generated based on the transaction created date, you can use accrual. And if you want the report to be generated based on the payment received date, you can use cash. So now we will see how we can customize this account transaction report for a particular account. Let's take an example. So generally our customers will make payment and deduct TDS. So to know about the TDS deducted by your customers, we can make use of account transaction report and we can customize this report for the TDS account. So let's see how we can do this. So in advanced filter, we have to specify the criteria as account, SN, and we have to associate the TDS account. So by default, we will be tracking this TDS in TDS receivable account. So if you are using any other accounts apart from this TDS, you can TDS receivable, you can associate that account and you can click on run report. So with the generated report, we will be able to get the TDS deducted by our customers along with their transaction number. So let's take another example where you want to get the employee reimbursement. So generally our employees will purchase on behalf of the organization and later we will reimburse the amount to our employees. So by default we will use employee reimbursement, which is a liability account, to track the employee reimbursement. So to know about the amount which your employee has incurred and the amount which you have refunded, you can use account transaction report and you can customize this account transaction report for employee reimbursement account. So the customization part is similar to customizing TDS receivable account. So instead of TDS receivable account, we will select the employee reimbursement account. So with the generated report, we will be able to identify the amount which has been incurred by our employee and the amount which we have refunded to our employees, and with the closing balance, we will be able to identify the amount which are pending to be refunded or which are pending to be reimbursed to our employees. From this, you will be able to get the opening and closing balance for this particular account. But say if you want to know about the running balance against each account, then you can click on customize report and in show or write columns, you can double click on running balance. So if we click on run report, with the generated report, we will be able to get the running balance against each transaction. So if you want this customization, to be saved as a custom report. That is, if you would be using this report frequently. So I'll be checking my employee reimbursement frequently. Customizing the account transaction report frequently for the employee reimbursement account would be tedious. So what we can do is, in this case, we can save this customization as a custom report. So do this after clicking on the advanced filter. We have to click on save as custom report, which will take us to a report where you can click on where you can give general settings like date range, report basis. You can choose group by. So you can use group by when you want to club the report. That is, if you want to view the report customer or vendor wise, you can use group by. So not only you would be able to group the report based on customer and vendor wise, you would be also able to group it based on date, accountant, transaction type, transaction, branch, and the reporting tax which you have created. So after, you can also add the other criteria apart from the employee reimbursement, and we can click on next. So which will take us to the page where you can click on the columns which you want in their report. So after selecting the reports, we will be redirected to report layout page where you can choose the table density, the options which you would like to display in the report, and you can also choose paper size and the font. After selecting the reports layout, we will be redirected to a page where you have to choose the report preferences. So you can give a report name, and you can also provide the name in which you want the report to be displayed and export. You can also provide report description. So if you want this custom report to be viewed by other users, then you can use this option, share this with only selected. So if you want a user who has created the report only want to view this report, then you can use only me. And if you want only selected users to view the report, you can click on only selected users and role. And if you want everyone to view the report, then you can click on everyone and save, and you can click on save as custom report. So once you have saved the report as custom report, you can access this report from custom report module. So the reports which you have created here will be listed, and you can access this report from custom report module instead of customizing account transaction report each and every time. The next report which we are going to deal today is account type transaction. So if we check in account transaction report, we were able to get the list of accounts along with their transaction. That is, it shows the transaction based on the transactions which we have created. So if you have associated multiple accounts in particular bill, then the same will be listed in a orderly manner. But if you want to club, that is, if you want to get the transactions account wise, then you can directly use account type transaction instead of customizing account transaction report. So in account type transaction report, the transactions will be clubbed. That is, if you have transactions with related to accounts payable, then all the transactions with related to accounts payable will be clubbed. Similarly, all the transactions with related to accounts receivable will be grouped. So if you have any transactions for the report generated period, then those transactions will be grouped based on the accounts. So the next set of report which you are going to see today is account type summary. So as the name indicates, this gives us the consolidated view based on the account type. So when we create any account in Zoho Books, we used to provide account type for each account. So if you want to know the consolidated value for each account type, then you can make use of account type summary report. So this report segregates the accounts based on the types such as asset, equity, expense, income, and liability. So let's take an example, asset. So I would have created multiple accounts with account type as bank. So from this bank account type, I'll be able to identify the consolidated value for all the accounts which has been created with account type as bank. So if you want to know about the accounts associated with this bank, then we have to click on the respective values, which will redirect us to general ledger report. So we'll just see the general ledger report after discussing daybook. So for now, we will just get used to the term general ledger. So once we click on account summary transaction report, we'll be redirected to general ledger, which will list all the accounts along with their transactions. So if you want to know about the accounts associated with this particular bank, say HSBC, you have to click on the respective value, which will take us to the account transaction report, which is similar to customizing account transaction report for a particular bank account. So the next report which we'll be seeing in this accountant section is daybook. So as the name indicates that with daybook you will be able to get all the transactions that you have recorded in a particular date. So if you want to know about the transaction that has been recorded yesterday, then you can generate a daybook for yesterday's date range, and you can click on run report. So the next report which we are going to view today is general ledger report. With general ledger report, you will get the consolidated balance for all the accounts that you have created in Zoho Books. So if you have associated the accounts while creating transaction, then you can derive the balances for all the accounts in general ledger report. So not only will be able to view the general ledger balances for all the accounts, you will be also able to compare this a report with your previous period. So say I have generated a report for September month and I've got values for all the accounts, and now I want to customize or compare this report with previous period. So like previous month, then you can customize this report. So to do it, you have to click on customize report, and then compare with, we have to choose previous period, because I'm going to compare this report with my previous month. So if you want to compare this with your previous year, then you can choose in previous year and compare with option. So I'll be now selecting previous period, and you can choose the number of periods, since I want to compare this report with my previous month, I'm selecting number of period as 1. So if you want to compare this for the remaining months, then you can choose the respective number of periods in this number of periods column. Also, I want to arrange this comparison from latest to oldest. So I will just enable this option, arrange period per year from latest to oldest, and I will click on run report. So with the generated report, I will be able to identify the balances for the all account for current month, and also I will get the balances for the previous month. So the next report is detailed general ledger report. So detailed general ledger report is the extended version of general ledger report. So with in general ledger report, we will be able to get the accounts along with their balances. But in detailed general report, you will get the transaction along with their account. That is, in general ledger, we have to click on each account to know about the associated value or associated transaction. But in detailed general ledger report, the value along with transaction will be clubbed group wise, which eliminates an additional click. So the next report which we are going to see today is trial balance. So trial balance being the financial report, you can use trial balance to get the closing or opening balance for the report for the financial reporting period. Say you have migrated from any other software to Zoho Books, and you want to identify the opening balance that you have entered for this period. Then you can customize this report. So let's see how we can do the customization. So in trial balance, we have to click on customize report, and we have to choose date range. So let's say you have migrated to Zoho Books on April 4th. So to know about the opening balance that you have entered on for April 4th, you have to select date range as April 4th, and you have to click on apply. Also, you'd be able to add the opening balance and closing balance column. You have to click on show and hide columns, and you have to double click on fields such as opening balance and closing balance. So then you can click on run report. So with the generated report, you would be able to identify the opening and closing balance. So here, if we see, the columns are not in a proper manner. That is, it shows the debit, credit entries, and then it shows opening and closing balance. So you'd be able to arrange these columns. So to arrange the columns, you have to go to show or hide columns, and you have to drag and drop the fields as per your preferences. So I have rearranged this field with opening balance, net debit, net credit, and closing balance. So when I click on run report, the report will be generated based on the columns which you have arranged. That is, the opening balance will be listed first, then debit and net credit entries along with the closing balance. So let's see the customization available in trial balance. So in addition to these customizations, you'll be also able to choose report basis such as accrual or cash, Also, you will be able to filter the accounts. Say if you want to view the accounts which has balance but they should not hold zero balance, then you can choose accounts without zero balance. So if you want to view all the accounts irrespective of their balances, you can choose all accounts. So if you want to view accounts which has transaction, then you can choose accounts with transaction. Similar to general ledger, you would be also able to compare trial balance with your previous period. So you can follow the same customization which we done in general ledger to compare this trial balance report. So now we have seen the functionality of accountant reports. So let's see the common features that are available in accountant reports. Let's say you have an auditor who does not use Zoho Books and you want to export and share the file with your auditors. So you can, let's say trial balance. I want to export my trial balance and share it with my auditors. So to export trial balance, you can click on trial balance report and you can choose the export as button, and you can choose the required format in which you want to export the trial balance. So not only you would be able to export trial balance, you would be also able to export the other 7 reports. So the next common feature which is available in accountant report is scheduling the report. Let's say I want to schedule the general ledger report to my accountant who is added as a user, or I want to schedule this report to my accountant. So in this case, you will have an option called schedule here. So since this report has been already scheduled, it shows that report has been already scheduled. So when you have to schedule, you have to click on scheduled report and it will take you to a page where you have to enter the schedule preferences. So you can choose the frequency such as weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly or daily, and you can choose the start date and time. So you can also enter email recipients to whom you want to send the scheduled report. Additionally, you would be also able to provide recipients to whom you want to send the reports who are not part of Zoho Books. You can also select the format and you can click on save. So once you have saved the preferences, the reports will be scheduled. So the other common feature which is available in accountant report is sharing the report. Let's say I have a user who does not have access to my reports module. I want that respective user to view only this report. So in that case, I can share my report with the user. To share, we have to click on the share icon, which will be available to the schedule button, and in the share report tab, you can select the user to whom you want to share the report, and you can also set some criteria, like if you want the users to view only this report, you can click on view only, and if you want the user to export, you can click on view and export, and if you want them to view export and schedule, you can give view export and schedule permission, and you can click on share to share this report. So from the accountant reports, we are able to identify that we'll be able to get the accounts and their transactions from account transaction report. So not only you will be able to provide view the account transaction report or customize your report to view a particular account, you will be also able to provide budgets to your account. So let's see how we can provide budgets. So you'll be able to provide budgets from accountant module. So to provide budgets, go to accountant, click on budgets. So from the budget module, you can create budget. So we have already created budget. So I'll just explain you the fields and the budget which we have created. So I'm just editing the budget which I've already created. Once you click on plus new budget, you will be taken to a page where you will have to create your budget. So in that screen, you have to enter your name. You can choose the physical period. You will be also able to select the budgeting period such as monthly, quarterly, half yearly or yearly. So if you have created any branches, you can associate that branch as well. So if you have created reporting tags and if you want to create budget for each reporting tag, then you can use create this budget for specific reporting tag option. So once you have entered these details, you will be asked to choose income and expense account or asset and liability account in which you want to enter the budget. So after selecting the account, you will be redirected to a page where you will be able to provide budget. So as I said, we have already created a budget. For now, let's take an example, advertisement and marketing. So for this, and I have created this budget for a half yearly. So for this half yearly period, I am entering budget as 40,000. And for October month, I'm entering my budget as 30,000. So that is my advertisement expense should not exceed more than 40 or 30,000. So once you have entered budget, you can save the budget. So once you have entered budget, you can start to create transactions, and particular point we want to view, at a particular point we'll be comparing our budget with our actuals. So if you want to compare the budget versus actual, you can either click on view budget versus actual button, which is available in the respective budget overview page. Else you can also redirect to budget versus actual report from reports module. So to that, go to reports module, go to budgets and click on budgets versus actual. So when we click on this, it will take us to the budget versus actual report. So before knowing about the functionality of budget versus actual report, we will see the customization. So you would be able to select the budget. So if you have created multiple budgets, then all the budgets will be listed here. You can choose the respective budget. You would be also able to filter the reports based on some criteria. So if you want to generate the report for all accounts, you can choose all accounts. If you want to generate the reports for accounts with transaction, then you can choose account with transaction report. If you want to choose budget accounts, then you can choose budget accounts. And if you want to view the report for budget accounts or accounts with transaction, then you can click on budget accounts or accounts with transaction. So for now, I want to generate this report for the accounts which I have entered budget. You would be also able to choose budgeting here, budgeting period, and you can also choose the from and to date. So after selecting the general preferences, you can click on run report. So with the generated report, you will be able to view the budget and the actual amount. While we are discussing earlier, I entered budget for advertising and marketing account. So for April month, my budget was 40,000. And so for the half yearly period, that is April to September, I entered my budget as 40,000. And for October to March, I entered as 30,000. So similarly, for printing and stationery, I already provided a budget which is 10,000, and for repair and maintenance, I've already entered a budget which is 50,000. So let's take the advertisement and marketing account. The budget which I provided is 40,000, but the actual transaction which has occurred is 51,000. That is, I have spent more amount than the budgeted amount. So in that case, the value will be showing in negative, that is 27.56%. I have my budget has exceeded along with the value. Now let's see the other account, printing and stationery, where I have provided budget as 10,000 and the actual which has been occurred is also 10,000. So for this case, the budget is 0 because I have fully used my budgeted amount. The next account is reports and maintenance. I have entered budget as 50,000, but the actual one that has occurred is 40,000. So that is, I have saved 10,000 from the budgeted amount, and hence the budget is showing a negative with minus 20%. So the green color indicates that you have created transaction within the budget, and the red color indicates the over budgeted value. So when you normally access to the report, you'll be able to see budget and actual. The over budget column will be not visible. So if it is not visible, you can click on customize report icon, and in show or hide columns, you can add the over budget. Similar to the accountant report, you will be also able to save this budget as custom report by clicking on save as custom report option. You would be also able to share and export this report as similar to accountant report. So now we will summarize the reports which we have discussed till now. So we were able to identify the account along with the transaction using accountant reports. If you want to view the transactions and their accounts, you can make use of account transaction report. So if you want to segregate if you want to get the consolidated value based on account type, then you can make use of account type summary report. And if you want to view the report where the transactions are clubbed or grouped based on account wise, you can use account type transactions. So with daybook report, you can get the day-to-day transaction, that is the transactions created on a particular day. And with general ledger and detailed general ledger report, you can get the consolidated value for all the accounts. With journal report, so when we create any transaction in Zoho Books, a journal will be created automatically. That is, if you create any invoice or bills, the respective journal entries will be created automatically, which can be viewed in display journal option. So along with this, if you have created any journals from accountant module, then you can view the journal entries in journal report. So let's say I have posted a journal, so the accounts associated with the journals can be viewed here. Similarly, I've created an invoice, then the accounts involved with this accountant can be viewed here. So if you want to know about the reporting tags that you have associated in the journal report, then you can click on customize, and then you can click on show associated tags. So with the generated report, you will be able to get the reporting tags for each transaction. So if we take this refund entry, it shows the reporting tag that I've created for department and location. Similar to the other reports, you will be able to share and export the journal report. With trial balance report, you would be able to identify the closing and opening balance of the for the financial year or for the particular month. So with budgets, we will be able to provide budgets for all the accounts, and you would be able to compare your budget versus actual. So with which we will be able to cut down, which will help the business to improve the performance, such as you can cut down the cost, or you can improve the area where you need to concentrate on income, or you can decrease the or you can purchase any other equipments. So after discussing the accountant and budget reports, now we will discuss the reports related to currencies. So so let's take an organization is involved in overseas transaction handling, that is, you purchase or sell an item from overseas vendors or customers. Then identifying the exchange gain or loss would be tedious process. So before diving into like how Zoho Books helps you in identifying the exchange gain or loss, summarize few points. So in Zoho Books, you'll be able to enter exchange rate. That is, while creating transactions, you'll be able to enter exchange rate. So when you you can opt an option where you can enter the exchange rate manually, or you can also opt for an option where the exchange rate will be get fetched automatically. So in order to enable that option, you have to go to settings, currencies, and you can click on enable exchange rate feeds if you want the exchange rate to be fetched automatically. So when you click on this, the feeds, when you create a transaction for overseas customer or vendor, based on the transaction created date, the exchange rate will be fetched automatically. So as saying earlier, if you're involved in overseas transaction, then we can make use of currency report. So when we create a transaction, the date on which the transaction created and the date at which we receive the payment will not have same currency value. So the exchange rate, like the currency value on the transaction created date and the currency value on the payment received date might get deferred. So when you record payment in order to identify the gain or loss, if you take the manual process, it will be tedious, as you have to manually identify the exchange rate for which the invoice was created, and you have to and you want to identify the rate at which payment was received, and you have to calculate manually the exchange gain or loss. But in Zoho Books, the process is made easier. So since while creating the invoice, we'll enter the exchange rate, and while recording payment, we'll enter an exchange rate. Based on this, the exchange gain or loss, that is the rate at which you record the payment, the exchange gain or loss will be calculated automatically, and these gain or loss can be viewed in currency report. So this currency report has two major categorization, that is realized and unrealized gain or loss. So let's see realized gain or loss. So as I mentioned earlier, we generally used to sell or purchase an item from an overseas contact. So if I want to know, like I have received a purchase from my vendor last month and I'm making the payment this month. So the currency on the last month and this month would not be same, and they may vary. So when I record payment, the exchange gain or loss, that is the actual gain or loss that has been incurred, will be calculated in Zoho Books, and this actual gain or loss can be viewed in realized gain or loss report. So let's take an example. On 17th September, I have received a payment with exchange rate. And so based on that, the realized amount has been shown here, and the gain or loss will be listed in gain or loss column. So the positive sign indicates that I have received there is a gain, and the negative sign indicates that there is a loss. Along with this, you will be also able to get the total realized gain for this period. So similar to the accountant and budget report, you will be also able to share this report and export this report. So the next report is unrealized gain or loss report. Generally, we will know the exact actual gain or loss while recording the payment or when the payment is received. But there are certain cases where you need to close your financial account or you want to recalculate the balances for a particular date. In that case, to recalculate, if we talk about the manual work, it would be really tedious. That is, you have to first filter the open transaction for the overseas customer. Then you have to enter the exchange rate for the recalculated date, and then you have to come with a manual intervention. But this process is made easier in Zoho Books by just entering the exchange rate for all the currencies. So to enter exchange rate, you have to click on customize report and you have to provide the currency. So after entering the currency, exchange rate for all the currency and the date in which you want, and you can also select the date in which you want to recalculate the balance. After clicking on run report, the generated report will show the recalculated balances for the currencies. So the balance column indicates the balances for the currencies before entering the exchange rate. The exchange rate column shows the rate at which we have entered the currency exchange rate. Reevaluated balance will show the balances, that is recalculated balance after entering the exchange rate, and current balance will show the current balances. With gain or loss column, we'll be able to identify the gain or loss incurred against the respective currencies. Similar to the realized gain or loss report, you'll be also able to get the total unrealized gain or loss for the unrealized gain or loss report. You will be also able to share and export this report similar to realized gain or loss. So with currency report, we will be able to identify the exchange gain or loss that has been occurred. So if you want to know about the actual gain or loss incurred, you can make use of realized gain or loss report. And to know, like if you want to recalculate or if you recalculate the balances, and if you want to know about the hypothetical gain or loss for the particular date, then you can make use of unrealized gain or loss report. So having discussed about the currency report, the next report, the final and the last report which we are going to discuss in this session is banking. So this banking report consists of one major report that is called reconciliation status. So with reconciliation status report, you will be able to get an overview of reconciliation activities that has been happening in your organization for the respective bank account. So after clicking on reconciliation status report, we will be redirected to reconciliation status report. So in this report, you can choose the date range in which you want to generate this report. Note, you will be able to generate this report for a period of 93 days. And you can choose the account. Say if you have created multiple bank accounts, then those bank accounts will be listed in the drop down, and you can choose the respective bank account here. So for now, I'm choosing ICICI Bank, for which I want to view the reconciliation status. So after selecting the bank with the generated report, I'll be able to get the overview activity, that is activity for the reconciliation status. So with this, I'll be able to get the opening and closing balance of the report. Along with this, I'll be able to get the total value of matched transaction, total value of unmatched statements, and total value of unmatched transaction in Zoho Books. So clicking on the tabs such as matched or categorized or unmatched books transaction or unmatched statement lines, you'd be able to view the respective transactions. That is, if you have matched or categorized any transaction, then those transactions will be listed in matched or categorized transaction tab. So if you have unmatched books transaction, that is, if you have created any transaction and that has not been matched, then you can click on unmatched books transaction. If you have unmatched statement lines, that is, if you have fetched or imported any statements and if they are available in uncategorized tab, then those transactions can be viewed in unmatched statement lines tab. So you might have done reconciliation. So to know about the reconciled and the transactions which are yet to be reconciled, you can click on view reconciled and unreconciled transaction. So by clicking on the tabs such as reconciled and unreconciled, you will be able to get the transaction list. With this report, we will be able to identify how we can view matched, unmatched or unmatched statement lines. So there might be a scenario where you want to export the transactions which are not yet categorized or matched. That is, there are the transactions which are available in uncategorized. Then you can export the uncategorized. To export, you have to click on export as PDF and you have to choose unmatched statement lines. So by selecting unmatched statement lines, you will be able to export the transactions which are available in uncategorized tab for the report generated period. In addition to this, you will be also able to export the report. You will be able to export the summary of the reconciliation report. You will be also able to export matched or categorized or unmatched statement lines. You can also export the reconciled and unreconciled transactions. If you want to export all these categories, then you can choose export all and click on proceed. So with the banking report, we've got an overview that how reconciliation status will show us a report. You can post your questions and we will start discussion. So we have a question here, like if we want to know branch wise balance for a particular ledger, how should you run report? So you can customize the account transaction report. So I'll show you how you can customize this. So as I mentioned, you can customize account transaction report either in group by. You can choose the option branches. If you select group by as branches, it will list the transactions created based on branch wise. That is, the transaction will be clubbed or grouped based on branches. So if you want to generate the report for a particular branch, say I have 3 branches, and if I want to generate that report for branch name branch A, then you can customize this in advanced filter. So in advanced filter, you have to specify the criteria as branch SN and you have to associate the respective branch. So the next question let's see is, how can I generate a report with paid through account and the account name for expense and bills in one report? So for this, you can also use account transaction report and you can customize that report. So let's see how we can customize this. So in account transaction report, so we have to first filter this report with account SN and you have to associate the paid through account, that is ICICI. Like let's say I have ICICI Bank, then you can choose ICICI Bank. And also, if you want to filter this report for particular transaction type such as bills or expense, then you can choose transaction type SN and you can choose the respective transaction type such as bill or expenses. So with the report, you will be able to get the paid through account and the transaction, like the paid bank account and the transaction type such as expense or bills. So the next question is, can I download the daybook for 1 year in one report like in Tally? So firstly, we would like to clarify you that in daybook is a particular day transaction. That is, it will show you the transactions that you have created in a particular date. So if you want to view the transactions that you have created for the entire year, then you can customize account transaction report. And in account transaction report, you can choose date under group by. So see, like I'm in account transaction report. In the date range, I'll be choosing this year, or you can choose the required year in which you want to generate the report. And in group by, you can choose date. So with this report, you'll be able to get the date-wise transaction for the particular year. So the next question is, how to download report for TDS deducted for customer invoice number wise. So we hope you want to view the reports TDS deducted by your customer wise. So for this, like while the initial, like in the webinar session itself, we gave an example where you have to generate the report for TDS receivable account. And in group by, you have to choose contact. So by doing so, you will be able to get the TDS deducted by your customer wise along with the invoice number. So the next question is, how to enable customized report. So we hope you're referring to the customized report icon. So if you are a user who has access to view or edit the report, then you'll be able to customize it. To customize, you have to just click on customized report icon. So the next question which will be discussing here is TDS deducted for vendors report. So as you will be able to view the TDS deducted for your vendor transaction. So for this you can make use of TDS summary report. The TDS summary report can be found under the tab called taxes. So when you click on TDS summary, it will list all the TDS that you have deducted against your vendors. We'll be discussing the functionality of TDS summary report in the upcoming webinar. So how to book advance in Zoho. So you would be able to create record advances in Zoho Books. So say if you have received advance from your customer, then you can record it as customer advance. And if you have if you have paid advance to your vendor, then you can record it as vendor advance. So let's see how you can create these transactions. So to create customer advance, you will have to navigate to sales, payments received, and click on plus new. After clicking on plus new, you will see an option where you can choose invoice payment and customer advance. So to create customer advance, you can use the tab customer advance. Similarly, to create vendor advance, you have to go to purchase, payment made. After clicking on plus new, you will see a vendor advance tab where you can create vendor advance from here. So the other question is, there is problem occurring in the bank reconciliation. If I do the reconciliation for a specific period, it shows the previous entry, not a specific period which I have selected. So as we will show the previous transaction as well, because so it will show unless you reconcile. So say if I'm reconciling for this particular period and I have left 2 transactions in my last reconciliation, then those transactions which are not yet reconciled will be shown in this month reconciliation as well. We have answered most of the queries. So if there are questions which are unanswered, we'll reach out to you via email from our support email address. So in addition to this, if you have any queries related to products, or if you want to clarify few doubts, you can reach out to us via email by dropping an email to support.india@zohobooks.com, or you can also ring us at 1800-572-6671. So thank you for joining this webinar. Hope with this webinar you were able to get the functionality of accountant, budgets, currency, and banking reports. So in the next webinar, we will be covering the reports related to projects and timesheets. You can join the webinar to get more insights and to know about the functionality of these reports. So once again, thank you for joining us today.